Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Join me every week. I release new episodes every Tuesday. Hello, Middlers. Welcome back. It is episode 106. I am Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. Happy to have you here. I have an exciting conversation to talk about today that came up with one of my mentees in my mentorship program. And I thought I should share it on the podcast because it was a really interesting question and I wanted to share the answer with all of you. But before we get into that, I have some exciting news. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of my in-person business in Banff. So 1 year ago was when we opened the doors to the little Reiki room in Banff, and it doesn't seem like a year, to be honest. Over the past 12 months, we were shut down twice. For the first time, I think it was about 6 weeks. So we were open for 2 weeks, then closed for 6 weeks. And then we were open for like 2 weeks and then closed for a few months. So it's been a lot of on and off in that space, but I'm really happy to be celebrating 1 year as a business owner in Banff. This is a huge and special accomplishment for me. So just kind of sitting in that energy today, feeling really good, even though I haven't been open for 12 months straight with all the lockdowns and the shutdowns. It still feels really good to own a business for a year in Banff, separate from my online business, but it is there. So if I've met you in real life in the Reiki room, shout out to you. I hope to do many, many more. And yeah, that was a really exciting day today. Today, 1 year ago, I took my first client in my own space. So a reminder for you to celebrate your wins. I love to celebrate everything I do. I think it's amazing, and I think it's important to celebrate your wins and celebrate the things that you accomplish and the things that you do, because it helps you with abundance. It helps you move forward. It helps you acknowledge yourself, especially when life is going by really quickly. You need to remember to stop and smell the roses, and also stop and acknowledge yourself for what you've done, what you've accomplished, how far you've come. So lots of big and exciting celebrations this year in the past few months. And I'm very happy to add 1 year in business for my in-person location in Banff, Alberta to the list. So right on topic with today's episode, I pulled a card from the Mediumship deck again. I've actually been receiving a lot of good feedback from you that you like this deck, so I like it too. I've been learning a lot, and I think it's really well presented. So I pulled the card Linking with Spirit. The first and most important step when you're connecting and communicating with Spirit is to create a solid and clear link. Only when the link with Spirit has been established can the delicate process of authentication and validation begin. To practice linking, it's important to first become aware of how you sense the spirit world. For some, it is quickening, as though your whole body is vibrating, a sense of inner knowing, or even a sense of seeing energy. Each and every medium works in their own unique way, and no matter how you sense spirit, just trust it's the right way for you. To establish a strong link, you can breathe in the energy, which sends a clear signal that you're ready to connect. In your heart and mind, invite the spirit to draw close and share their light and energy with you. If you're studying mediumship for the first time, then it's always best to practice with someone who's open to receiving a message. Share evidential information with the sitter to validate that the link has been established with a recognizable loved one. Examples of evidence from a spirit would be the following: what their relationship is to the sitter, hobbies, jobs, names, or any pertinent information that you sense the spirit is sending you. Keep breathing into your core as you continue the link. This will help you remain grounded and trust the validity of the connection. Ooh, I like this. And this has been coming up a lot with my mentorship clients in regards to a few of them are practicing mediumship. So this is really important when you are working on this to practice your link with spirit and kind of holding that connection. I like this card, Linking with Spirit. And this is from the Mediumship Training Deck by John Holland and Lauren Rainbow. I've been slowly going through the deck and really enjoying it. And I was called to pull a second card for you. As a reminder, when I pull these cards, when I'm looking at my drawer of my decks, I always say, like, what do the listeners need to know? What is some piece of information that can be helpful for them right now? And it usually pertains to the topic that I'm talking about in the podcast, which I find is just like divine timing. So these cards are pulled for you. So the second card was Rebecca Campbell, Work Your Light Oracle deck. The card is Unbound, Releasing Soul Patterns, Contracts, and Past Lives. Ooh, I haven't pulled this card before. It is time to release old soul stories that have been playing out in your life. They are coming up to be healed. There has never been a safer time to clear these patterns than right now. Take a look at patterns in your life that you are ready to release. Ancient vows and contracts that your soul made that have an expiry date. It could be a vow of silence or chastity or poverty. It is time to unwind from them. This is the life in which you free yourself from the trauma of past lives. What old ways of being have an expiry date? When you name them, you claim them, and they stop holding power over you. When you acknowledge these old patterns, it is also important to acknowledge how they have served you up until now. For example, a soul pattern of playing small caused by a soul fear of being seen or sharing your voice would have served you by keeping you safe. In order to grow now, you need to soften by receiving and calling in support. It is time to unbind from the old ways of being that are no longer sustainable. The Akashic Records talk about this a lot. And it's always interesting because I find people are always like, what are my soul contracts? What do I need to release? And while it's not like a checklist, they always describe it. They always say it is your most difficult areas. It's your most difficult relationships. It's always the patterns that come back. And I like to describe this as the thing that keeps slapping you in the face over and over and over and over again. And eventually they slap you in the face so hard, you're like, whoa. What do I need to be seeing here? And that could be, the same type of person coming into your life. You find yourself in the same situations over and over again. You constantly have the same difficulty with something over and over again. This is kind of the unfancy version of these like soul stories that we need to release, and the patterns and the contracts are actually the work within ourselves. So there's not a checklist of things. It's kind of like, what are you going to choose to work on in this lifetime? What are you going to choose to battle in this lifetime of like, okay, you know what? I'm no longer the person that ... So very interesting card, Unbound. Again, if you want to see either of these cards, I always post them on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. You can follow me on there. We always have a good time, or on Facebook at Medium in the Middle. And the links for that will be down below in the show notes. And let's move on to announcements. Announcements. I have just one announcement today, and that is about the meeting in the middle that is coming up. So I'm very excited about this meeting. You guys are very excited about this meeting. It is being held on Tuesday, November 23rd. So next Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. And we are talking about manifesting money. So for 1 hour, I'm giving you all my tips and tricks of how I manifest money, how I work with money, how I stay in that abundance mindset. And it is a 1 hour live Zoom call, but if you cannot make it live, it will be recorded and sent to everybody who is registered. So if you would like to register for that, the link will be in the show notes as well. And the December meeting is also live. So the December meeting is on December 30th. This one is a 2-hour event brought back by popular demand, and also it is my favorite. I literally takes everything in me to wait to the 30th in order to do this, but we're doing 2021, a year in review. We go back and look at the year that we had before looking forward and setting goals for the new year ahead. I love reflection. I just talked about celebrating, and it's really nice because you get to give yourself a moment to look back on your year, month by month, event by event. What happened? Let's write some details down. Let's write some numbers down. Let's write some things down, to really reflect on your experience of the year. And then let's set ourselves up for success going into the new year. And these aren't New Year's resolutions or, things that don't sound so cheesy. It's literally like, what do I want to do in the next year? Where am I going? What do I want to accomplish? How do I want to feel? How do I want to be? And we go through these different exercises over the 2-hour event that really help you feel good about going into the new year while reflecting on the year that you just had. Even if you didn't feel like it was a great year, there's always things to celebrate. So I love doing this. I've been doing it every year for, I think, since 2016 is when it started. And then I just started sharing this practice with you guys. So if you want to join, there will be a replay for that as well. But I really, really recommend if you can join live, join live. That one's always a really fun one. And it's 2 hours. I like to do it the day before New Year's Eve, the 30th, when you're full of holiday food and treats and you don't know what day it is and you don't know when the sun's coming up or going down and if your wine needs to be filled or if it's time for coffee. I like to do it then because it's just a really nice way to re-ground you before the new year. So if that's what you're interested in, come join us for that. The link will be down in the show notes. Before I jump into this week's topic, because it's not a super long one, I did want to just share a cool experience that I had. I am in this Facebook group for developing mediums, and in the group, sometimes they ask for sitters and sometimes they ask for people who are practicing, just reaching out. And it's usually hey, is anyone available tonight between 7 and 8? So I saw that Anthony Maraca, who is a medium and he does mentorships and group. He's a popular medium. If you haven't heard of him, you can look him up. But he has a mediumship development group, I believe, because they're constantly looking for people to practice on. So he comments when and how many people he needs, and then everybody comments I'm available, and he picks out people he's drawn to for the reading. So I kind of wrote my name down and I saw the time and I was oh, I'm actually available. And I was I should do things like this. I need to invest more time in my own development and being involved in the spiritual community outside of just my community. So I was really I need to do things like this. I need to make time for things like this. I'm putting my name down. And of course, a psychic does not just put their name down on a Facebook comment without knowing you're going to be selected. So I knew I was going to be selected, and I kept an eye on my Facebook DMs because that's where they send you the Zoom link. And it wasn't until I wrote it in the morning, and it wasn't until about 25 minutes before the event, and I kept checking because I knew I was going to be selected. Anthony Maraca DM'd me and he said, "Hey Steph, you were selected. Here's the Zoom link. Can you come in 30 minutes?" And I was yeah, see you there. I've been waiting. I kind of had it planned. So essentially what it was, which was really interesting, it was 7 of his students and then 7 volunteers, and some of them were past students as well. And you got put into a group. He would give you a task to do. So he was saying okay, guys, we're going in this time. It's a soul reading. You have 10 minutes. Then I'm going to pull you back. Okay, this time it's a psychic reading. You have 8 minutes. Then I'm going to pull you back. Okay, this time. And it was very bam, 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 which I loved. There was no fluff. He swore. It was amazing. And it was similar to the meeting in the middle that I did where I broke you out into groups to practice mediumship. But this was fast because it was an 8-minute reading with this person. Then you're in a new meeting room and you're a 10-minute reading with this person. And it was really, really interesting to be on the other side of things and experience receiving these readings, bam, bam, bam. And I learned a lot. Even though I was just the sitter, I was do you want me to be quiet? Do you want me to say anything? And everyone was developing. So, it's just holding space for them, supporting them. And it was really beautiful because they were all women, how these women connected and disconnected so quickly. I was so impressed. I was you are being pulled into and out of a Zoom meeting every 8 to 10 minutes. You're connecting with 7 different people in an hour and a half. This is wild. And even now, as I'm saying that, I was it's the same thing as me doing a group reading. You're in and out of different people's energies. But it was just really beautiful to kind of be a part of that and experience it, and also be able to be a part of someone else's development circle. I know I was just the volunteer, but I still got a lot out of it. And even hearing what he was saying to his students and the feedback. And at one point, he had them do an exercise and he pops in and out of the rooms. And he pulled everyone back and he's like, okay, so no one listened to what I said. You all did it wrong. We're doing that again. And I was just like, yes, like this is amazing. I love someone who just says it how it is and was straight, and he even swore a few times. So very, very interesting. So this is my reminder for you to step out and do things. Go on the other end of the things that you do all the time. I also attended a yoga class for the first time in a long time. And I used to teach yoga, so I found it hard to put yoga back into my schedule where you're not teaching it. I always prioritize CrossFit every day, but being on the other end of it, like being a student instead of being the teacher all the time, was really, really nice. So here's my reminder for you to go beyond the other end of something that you do constantly, because it's really interesting and you'll learn a lot about your craft and about yourself, and it's fun. It's always fun when someone else is leading the class and you can just enjoy. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was interesting, and I was like, I need to do this more. I need to participate outside of my own community. But we get so wrapped up in our own things and planning ahead and what do I need to do and all these stuff. It's hard to find the time. So the universe gave me that. It was the perfect timing. I happened to have the hour and a half off, and yeah, it really worked out. Okay, so I wanted to talk about something today in regards to mediumship, and I do have another group mediumship story to share with you that will be coming. I just wanted to share this story first because it was very interesting. So this was brought up by one of my mentees and another conversation that I was having about how do you convince people that mediumship is real? How do you, show or prove yourself to skeptics and non-believers? And it was a really good question. And my answer was very simple. And I said, well, you don't. And it's not your job to convince someone. If you want the message from grandpa, take it. If you're thinking, well, that's generic. Well, anyone could have had a grandpa named John. Well, anyone's grandpa could have drove a blue Chevy truck. Well, anyone's grandpa could have worked on a farm. It's like, yep, that's true. Okay, bye. I really don't take it as my responsibility to convince you that what I'm saying isn't specific enough. It's not exactly what you were thinking. And does spirit sometimes show up with exactly what you were thinking and specific enough? Yes, absolutely. In the story that I told with my last group reading, where someone thought in her head she wanted her grandpa to say red and white door, and I actually did end up saying that, it's like, well, what are the odds? Even I was thinking about numbers that come up. It's like, okay, yes, that number came up, but I could have said any number. I could have said 7. I could have said 42. I could have said 38. But no, I said 88. And I stuck with 88 for a reason. And there's evidence behind that. So an interesting thing came up where one of my mentees was kind of feeling down, and she was like, well, I was trying to prove myself and I had a negative experience. And I said, oh, what happened? And she said, well, someone who really doesn't believe was like, well, if you can connect with spirit, like ask my grandma to tell you what the sign above my door says. And I was like, yeah, of course spirit isn't going to answer that. And she was like, I got stuck and I couldn't see the sign above the door. And she's like, I didn't say anything. I didn't get anything. It was blank. And I was like, of course it was blank. I was like, spirit is not a puppet. They're not going to tell you things that you already know. That's just a test. It's different to say, hey, I want to connect with grandma. If grandma says apple pie, then I know it's her because she used to always make her apple pies, and that's kind of the piece of information that I'm looking for her to say. So then when grandma comes through and it's like, okay, I'm getting grandma energy, it's on mom's side, and like she's showing me apple pies. Did she always used to make apple pies? Did she love apple pie? And you're like, yes, like I wanted grandma to say apple pie. That is different than being like, what is the sign above my door? If you are a medium, then you should be able to tell me that. And can some mediums do that? Absolutely. But in my perspective, I just think that's a waste of spirit's energy. It takes a lot of energy for spirit to vibe, to communicate with us humans, and it takes a lot of energy for us humans to get to the level of consciousness in order to receive and understand and interpret the messages from spirit. So it is literally a waste of both of our energies to just tell you what the sign above the door at your house says in order for you to believe that this isn't fake and whatever else you may believe about it. And I said, yeah, of course Spirit's not going to do that. They're not going to waste your time, and they're not going to waste their time. If she asked like something about the Spirit that could maybe validate them, that's different. But this wasn't you failing. This wasn't you, not connecting. This wasn't radio silence. This was a lesson for both of you. Number one, it was a lesson to her. Spirit's not a puppet. You're not here to make her believe. You're not here to prove yourself to anyone. And you can take the message or not take the message. And it kind of brought me back to that show on Netflix last year that became really popular, where the guy went and saw all of these mediums and they were all incredible, literally providing so much evidence. He was like, yeah. It was about his dad who has passed. And after I don't even know how many readings on the show that they showed, he was like, well, they brought things up, but everything can be found on Google or Facebook, and even the specific information, can be found somewhere, as if these people were looking up, digging through information and Facebook posts and, Googling these questions. It was just so interesting. Anyways, he was like, everything is available on Google. And, I wanted my dad to talk about my left ear, and he didn't say anything about my left ear, so I don't believe any of it. And it made me so angry. I've already talked about this on the podcast, because I was like, you just received so many amazing messages from your dad that you are now discarding, literally from so many different mediums and many different mediumship styles. And you are going to discard it all and say that this is not true because your dad didn't talk about your left ear, such an insignificant piece of information. Like, you just wanted him to say left ear. And it wasn't like left ear. I forget what it was, but it was something like, I think you wanted to mention his nose or something. I forget what it was. But it wasn't like, tell him about my 7th birthday party when I had donkeys there. No, it was, I don't know why I got that example. It was just like something so insignificant. And it made me angry because I was like, oh, it's like people like this that, they can have everything handed to them and they still don't believe. But then I was like, why am I angry? He's the one not accepting the message from his dad. He's the one who's gone to all these mediums. He's the one who's invested all this time and energy trying to connecting, and then believing it's not connecting. Not my job. So that's exactly what I told my mentee. I said, it's not your job. I was like, those are absolutely the people that you do not waste your time with. And I was like, especially while you're developing, you don't want to invest your energy into situations like that. I said, does it happen where I read for someone who wasn't a believer and after the reading they become a believer? Yes. Does it happen that non-believers still get messages from Spirit? Yes. But it's not our job to go out and prove anything, to show them the world in order to make them believe. And I just wanted to share that on here in case you needed to hear it, because it doesn't matter if you believe or don't believe, but it's not my job or any other medium's job to give you a buffet of evidence and, there's everything there, but you're like, well, they didn't have corn on the buffet, so I'm not satisfied. It's like, well, there was every other vegetable that you could have ever wanted except for that one thing. So you can't please everybody, and I just don't take it on as my job to please anyone. And I find that the right people are going to come to you, the right messages from Spirit are going to be delivered, and Spirit is smart, guys. They are very, very intelligent with what they get you to say, how they get you to say it. The information that is delivered, it's always for a much higher purpose. So it's really interesting when these insignificant things come through, why they're coming through. It's like, no, this is important for a reason. They're making me say 88 for a reason. We need to figure that out now. So that was my perspective on the situation, and I wanted to share it on here because I don't want any other developing medium, to think that it's your job to go out and change everybody's mind. I very much watch where I invest my energy into, and convincing other people that what I do is real is on the very bottom of the list. I'm like, okay, don't take the message from Grandma. Bye. Okay, yeah, it is all fake. Whatever you say, bye. It's really not worth your energy. And energy is important. Energy input and output is important. What are you getting from the situation? What are you receiving from the situation? And especially if you both think you're right, there's, a butting of heads here. So I just want you to be very mindful of where in your life that you are investing energy where you're not getting anything in return. Now, this is a perfect example of that, but there's many examples where we, hit our head against a wall over and over and over again. It's like you're doing that to yourself. Stop hitting your head against the wall and, your problems are solved. Stop trying to convince someone that mediumship is real and you have your energy back. So just have a little check into your life of where you feel like you're banging your head up against the wall, where you're emptying your energy, and where you can claim it back because you are in charge of your energy output and input. Oh my God, Archie has fallen asleep beside me, my little puppy, and he just did the cutest little in his sleep. I'm going to take a picture and share it on Instagram. He's so cute right now. So that is what I wanted to share and bring to you this week. I really want to bring in more teachable moments to the podcast and share stories that can help others as well, be a learning experience, especially as I'm teaching more and more and more. So that is what I have for you today. I hope it resonated with you. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you want to book an appointment with me, I am available for distance Reiki, Akashic Records, and Psych K sessions. They are all available virtually, held live via Zoom. And if you are in Banff, come see me, Banff, Alberta, near Calgary. Come see me in real life. I also offer in-person Reiki, which is amazing. There is more Reiki trainings coming for January. The January level 2 has sold out. There is a wait list for level 1 if you would like to join. All the links for everything is in the show notes. You can just click and scroll down. You will see it all. And if you are an iTunes user, my last request is if you could please leave a rating and a review. It really helps me out in the podcast world. It helps this grow, and I really, really appreciate it. Just a small token from you. That means the world to me, and it really helps the podcast out. So thank you very much, Middlers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next Tuesday in your ears. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week. Bye.